So first and foremost, if you're new to any of this and you're trying to understand what's going on, you have to take things really slowly, and take it in increments. First of all, you're a human being with the same faculties that I have. You're a conscious entity. You're operating the machine that is known as the body. You have the same, apparatus, that being the senses, that I do, and that is where your first port of call has to be before any man-made language or any conceptual structures are put on top of that. You remove language altogether. First and foremost, as human beings, we are sharing a reality that we can refer to as the objective world, that doesn't require you or I, belief or wishes or any of these types of things. It exists purely as it is, without you having to put your volition to it, without you controlling it in any way, shape or form. It is what it is. So that reality that we share has, practical functions to it. It's made up of certain substances, and there's certain behaviours that go on in regards to certain substances. As human beings, we can demonstrate things to each other. I can show you various aspects of your reality, or what I have found about my reality, and I can share it with you in a practical reference. So I can take a particular substance, I can show you its behaviour, I can ask you to check that substance and check its behaviour, and then you can affirm that, or you can rebut it by your practical reference. That's the be all and end all of this whole topic. The rest of it's just language, concepts, sophistry, propaganda, manipulation, lies, all the traits of, desperately insecure, manipulative, needy, cult-like mentality. So you have to ignore all that. You have to realise that you are the scientist. This terminology of words, using words like science and scientists, they're used and have been put to you like it's something external from you, something that you're not a part of. Like scientists are some group of men or women who exist in some other plane of existence that know things that you don't know. There is avenues of expertise that you can go down in regards to man-made technologies that you can have a deeper understanding of. But at the very same time, those advancements and those practical things that I'm talking about are just that. They're practical, they're mechanical in nature, there's a function to them. One part playing a role in another part, and so on, to make machines, to make, other technological advancements. These are avenues of specifics that you can go down. So there is people who have a more in-depth experience of particular avenues, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the natural world, and I always use natural loosely for various reasons, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So when we're talking about this, we're talking about the natural world. No language, no man-made technologies, none of that. Remove the language. What it is, do you think you know? Make your claim, and then show me by way of practicality. You just have to understand that the language and your association to certain words puts you in a mindset, it puts you in an emotional and psychological state and position. Now, as a child, you were born into a hierarchical structure. That hierarchical structure has imposed onto you, a format of hierarchy that you're here, and there's this level, and there's this level, and there's this level, and this level. Okay, that was done with an authoritative tone. They use, certain aspects that are regarded as NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. So, tonality, facial expressions, body language, use of language. What they do is they teach you language. You learn words, and then you learn associations to words. And they create pictures, as I say, and they put you in a certain position. You have a relationship to these words. You start relating yourself to the rest of the world in regards to this language and the concepts and the images that have been presented to you. So you have to understand that, and there's a bit of work that you have to do internally in order to, resolve some of the fluff that you've probably got going on in your system. Because it comes right down to this, you have to be a direct realist, what I would call a direct realist, or just a realist and a skeptic. Someone who, understands what they actually know and what they don't know. Now, hearsay, appealing to authority, authority telling you and dictating to you what things are and what things are not, and all this, you know, type of fallacious reasoning is exactly the problem that people are encountering. And that's what they're being, you know, swept up by. You know, this whole thing as a cult, it incorporates techniques like hypnotism, where they continually repeat images and mantras, buzzwords and phrases over and over and over again. They create a hierarchical structure with idols and priestly-like figures who have a certain use of language and a certain demeanour about them that all has an effect on the gullible. So if you don't want to be a gullible, you really need to snap out of this and start taking responsibility for yourself. Again, you are the scientist. It's not an institution. It's not an authority. It's not a tinterweb celebrity. It's up to you. You have to understand what constitutes practical, demonstrable reality. Words, equations, you know, NLP tactics. None of that stuff is what I'm talking about. Interpretations of unseen things and things you do not know about. The majority of what you call science is only observing effects. It has no clue what energy is or any of these types of things. They're all conceptual. They've spun you a narrative of the macro being space balls in a void. And then it cascades down to the micro of mini space balls within empty void space. It's an idiotic insult to your intelligence. It's not an insult to your intelligence right now if you still believe you're a hairless monkey on the exterior of a sphere flying through an infinite vacuum. It's not an insult to your intelligence because you don't have any intelligence yet. You don't have the ability to address what's been put to you and go through it with a fine tooth comb in order to see what actually stands up and what does not. And when you get through that process and you start to remove the imposed hypnotic trance state done by authoritative approaches, use of NLP, language, you start to realise that it's all a crock of shit. Now what happens to you when you get to this position is I can only account for my experience, is this cult, this maniac, lunatic, psychotic cult does not like anybody that points out their nonsense and goes against and starts to question what's been put to them. I've had to endure all sorts of nonsense right up to this present day. These are all people that are in cahoots with guys like Baldy Cats, Conspiracy Cats, Simon Dan. These are the types of minds and accounts that are running amok on YouTube that are being protected and held up. Why? If it's just honest, sceptical people questioning the validity of claims about their objective reality, and the people that are professing these claims and standing by these claims think that it's actually objectively true, why would they have any necessity to incorporate the use of propaganda, slander, misrepresentation, intimidation? There'd be absolutely no need for it whatsoever. If I look outside and I see the grass is green, and somebody wants to get about believing that it's purple, that's up to them. That's no threat to me. What you're witnessing here is insecurity. What you get is a backlash of deep-rooted insecurity from this cult and its lunatic disciples. Make no bones about it. Look at their walk, look at their behaviour. They are not stepping up to the mark to have honest discourse. They are not stepping up to the mark to practically demonstrate any of their ridiculous, absurd claims and notions. Because they can't. It's no reality. If it was reality, they would be able to achieve that, but they don't. The only thing you're ever going to get from them is words. Sitting, trying to take the upper hand of an authoritative approach by using bamboozling language as if it means something, and sitting there or being there all smug and pompous like they think they're something. It's a serious display of narcissistic tendencies, spawned by deep-rooted insecurity and a need to control others. The globe heliocentric model is not a representation of skeptics. inquiring about their objective reality. It's a mathematical concept, an existential narrative pushed onto the people as a mechanism of control. It's a psychological tool. It bewilders you, disorientates you, puts you in a place of low self-esteem, so that you're malleable and that you will buy into any idiotic idea or concept that they present to you as a life. It's the perfect tool to disorientate you, placing you in an infinite void, on a delicate little sphere with no way on or off, with nonsensical jargon, explanatory physics that are in no way, shape or form related to anything in your practical, everyday lived life. You just have to start to understand how to recognise it. Now, people like me have been doing that for 5 years now, and as I say, it's been a consistent attack and onslaught from needy, insecure cult zealots, desperately trying to maintain this agenda. There's so many people and groups with investments in it that are milking money and human resources, time, effort, energy to absolute hogwash. As I say, that is only there to keep you in a bewildered state.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Just on the phone. Hi there.
How's it going?
Can you hear me?
Can hear you all right.
Yeah, hi Dal. I was just had to disappear for half an hour. I was really engrossed in your presentation, and I've sort of lost track of it now, so I had to disappear. I got your email, and just wanted to say, first of all, it's just really nice to hear an ordinary guy talking about stuff like this without bombarding me with bullshit, basically. I totally get where you're coming from. Since I embarked upon this, I'll say voyage of discovery, if you like, I've got entangled in so many debates on YouTube, and what I get is numbers thrown at me, equations, and I'm just getting so weary of it. It's like this. They use their knowledge to beat you down with.
Bamboozle.
You know what I mean?
It's just bamboozle. Try to bamboozle you with sophistry, mate. It's formal language. It doesn't mean anything. It's no real world numbers attached to real substance. It's just gobbledygook.
Well, I do sometimes feel, as I'm sort of looking into this, I do feel a little bit inadequate in some ways because I don't have a knowledge of science. I never took any interest in science at all. As far as I was concerned, the Earth was revolving around the sun, and that's it. And now I find, by looking into it a bit further, we're zooming through the galaxy at 1 million miles an hour, 250,000 miles an hour. It just doesn't make sense.
That's worse than that. It's 500,000 miles an hour we're going around the sun, apparently. But
Sorry.
but that what you're saying there, mate, that's exactly what I was saying at the beginning of this kind of presentation. That's what you've just said is exactly what I wanted to highlight. That you feel a bit lost because you never involved yourself in science. But that's their wording of science and what they've categorised as science. You have the same faculties as every other human being. So if you say something about reality, you can bring it to me and show me it. If I say something, I can bring it to you and I can show you it. You've got the ability to understand it, the mechanisms, the function of it, if it's broken down and it's shown to you. That's real, inquiry of our objective reality. The science that the way they use it and the words that they're using, it's not the way I'm talking about it of practicality and physical references. They're just talking about concepts and abstract notions and theories, fantasy. That's no science. That's religion. It's fairy tales. That's why.
Yeah, sorry. One thing I did want to say, and I don't know if anyone else can relate, as any of your subscribers can relate to this, but what brought me into this more than anything else was the hostility and hatred. I simply had to find out what all the fuss was about.
Yeah.
Had it not been for that, I'd have probably just walked on by.
Yeah.
But the first video I ever watched on this was by this guy, Conspiracy Cats, who you've referred to quite a lot, who incidentally puts these little snippets of you in his videos in order to make you look stupid.
Yeah.
You probably know this.
Yeah.
But now that I've found your channel, I've found a guy who talks eloquently and intelligently and is on my wavelength. But, you know, obviously his intention is to discredit you. But anyway, I'm watching and I'm thinking, nah, hang on a minute. Why are you so hung up on this? And then I started looking for stuff. And when you look for the stuff, most of what comes up is the negative stuff. It's the debunking stuff. I've noticed that the real information I'm looking for is buried in a sea of scientific debunking jargon.
Exactly.
So you really have to go looking for people like you and various other people.
Yeah.
But I did. I did. And had I not had the determination to do that, I'd have probably given up.
Yeah.
That also arouses my suspicions that something isn't right. There's something going on here.
Exactly. Well, you're spot on, man. You're in touch with exactly the right track. And as I say, if you go to YouTube right now and you type in Beyond the Imaginary Curve, the very first video that comes up is Conspiracy Cats. You know?
Well, yeah. This should make it pretty obvious to anybody. No matter how much, if you type into a Google search flat Earth, no matter how much you try and weight it in favour of research, nothing comes up.
No.
Nothing at all. It's all debunking. Now this should be a red flag to everyone.
Exactly.
I'm quite new to this, and I'm not going to sit here and declare to you now that I am a flat earther. I am totally convinced. But you've got my interest.
Yeah.
You really have. Yourself. There are others as well. My first introduction to this was by Eric Dubay, and yourself. There are a few others as well. But what concerns me about, and I'm really glad to be able to, because in my day-to-day life, I never get to talk about this with anybody. So sorry if I'm starting to waffle a bit.
No, you're all right. Yeah.
The also the thing that worries me a little bit is it really, especially in the case of the guys that you refer to, you refer to them quite a lot, Conspiracy Cats and the Simon Down, people like that. You sit there watching them and you think, are you really interested in the truth, or is it your ego you've got invested in this?
Well,
is this really you're trying to help people? I just get the feeling that it's all about notoriety and ego.
Yeah, it is. It's this is old hat techniques. The use of propaganda. Taking an authoritative stance. Hand waving gestures. The use of NLP. This is what these guys are utilising and using continually in their videos. But just come back to what you said there about, I'm no a flat earther. That's why I always, when I put that in the title, I always explained at the beginning the reasons why I'm using the title. And that's for me is the whole point. This is about an objective inquiry. We're asking questions of the claim that was put to us as children all the way through our lives, and asking valid questions about the inconsistencies and the absolute lack of any measurable proof. So when I'm using the term flat earther, I don't know the full dimensions. I don't know, what's encompassing this whole thing and how far we can go, what the sky is, or any of these things. I'm asking questions of the model and the claim that was put to me, and I have found nothing to support it. Absolutely nothing.
And the other thing I notice happens is when you do start asking these questions, you're quite an assertive guy. You make no bones about it. You're asking these questions, and I really respect that. What I notice as well is the troll activity.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen those vintage Frankenstein films where the angry peasant villagers come to the castle gates with their burning torches. It just reminds me of that.
Exactly.
Where do these people come from? It's
Exactly.
just this hatred and this animosity this subject generates.
Yeah.
I don't know if the intention is to turn people away from it, but it's having the opposite effect on me.
Yeah.
What these people are telling me is, there is something here that's touched a raw nerve with you. I'm going to look into it. Sod you if you don't like it.
Exactly. But that's the level that you're at, mate. And unfortunately, the bewildered masses are still at the level of being under the hypnotist's spell. So that use of the way they incorporate the tools still has an effect on the gullible. But, you know, for me, a lot of the majority of these troll accounts are operated by, you know, one guy who may have 10. And it's just to give the appearance that there's a consensus and a weight of authority and consensus that's enough psychologically and emotionally just to make people turn away, who don't have maybe a bit of wisdom, a bit of age, you know, a bit of life experience to think, no, hang on a minute, you know, I recognise that something's off here with this, you know. So again, these guys dig their own grave. They don't realise that just you're a testament to it. You know, their antics are actually pushing you in the right direction. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, was it? I'm trying to think of a famous quote by, I think it was Oscar Wilde said, "The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about."
Yeah.
You know, what he's saying there is there's no such thing as bad publicity. What these people are too stupid to realise, people like the people that make these anti-flat Earth videos, is they're actually lending weight to the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're actually, it's because of people like them that I'm here now. I would have just walked on by. I would have just laughed at this and walked on by.
Yeah, exactly.
But nothing that is so ridiculous. I mean, you know, if someone made a video and said Santa Claus is real, I've got evidence. Santa Claus is real. I've seen his elves. You're not going to make a video about it. Start debunking. It's just ridiculous.
Exactly.
But yet here we are. People on a subject they're claiming is just as ridiculous, dedicating their lives to making debunking. That should tell us something.
Exactly. And what I've just pointed out is that the people like me are offering practical references, you know, demonstrations. Guys like Conspiracy Cats and Simon Dan, they just ridicule it and then sit there drawing wee, you know, pencil drawings on pieces of paper, you know, poo-pooing practical reference, while at the same time trying to suggest that this nonsense jargon that they're putting on whiteboards means something. You know,
Yeah.
And again, I was at the Glasgow University on Wednesday, I think it was, and I had a guy come up to me and recognised me because he's a subscriber to Simon Dan and Conspiracy Cats. So I ended up having a discussion with this guy, which was a really good discussion, and obviously the guy was starting to realise, well, wait a minute, something's not right here, you know, because he's just been bombarded by this NLP nonsense that these guys are offering up. So fuck them, they're digging their own grave, you know, and I'm quite happy to watch them bury themselves. So
Yeah, I mean, is the other thing that we keep on hearing from the scientific community, which I don't think half of these trolls represent. I think they're all just masters of Google, to be honest.
Yeah.
They don't, you know, that's the trouble. Is Google makes experts of us all. You know,
exactly.
I could say I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Give me 5 minutes. Google search, bit of copying and pasting. You'll be convinced I'm a doctor. That's a lot of what this is.
Exactly.
But something you dwell on quite a lot, and this is, you know, forget about all the maths and all the physics and all the rest of it. This is something you dwell on quite a lot, which and is really, really cool. I never thought of it before. Is water.
Yeah.
Well, any liquid bending. I mean, you do not have to have a doctorate in physics or any science to know that water, by its very nature, doesn't curve.
Yeah.
So I've kept asking this question a bit, and you know, they do say the worst thing you could do on YouTube is try and get into conversation with on the comments section. But I've desperately tried. You know, just give me a working demonstration. I just want to see a working demonstration of that. Just bend water for me.
Yeah.
Just show me how it bends 360 degrees, all directions around a ball.
Yeah.
And then I get things like someone mentioned a chrome ball at a garden centre. Go look at the chrome ball water feature. You know, you'll find as the water's pouring on a microscopic. You know, do you know what I mean? It's just, and you just sit there and you hold your head in your hands and you think, you know, and you're calling me gullible.
Exactly.
You know, but no,
Exactly.
I mean, that's not representative of our reality.
Exactly.
We live a chrome ball in a garden centre. I mean, I
Right.
want to see it. I want to see it demonstrated. As soon as I see that, Dale, I'll drop it like a hot brick, mate.
Right. Well, that's it. You're never going to get it, you know. But there's other aspects, you know, the geometric assumptions that we apply in engineering, navigation, construction. All these things are plain geometric assumptions. So we're starting from a level line. You know, it's taken as a given that the Earth is a level plane. and that's where we build and construct. That's how everything works. You know, it's right in front of us, but people are confused by it, by the switcheroo of the geometry of vision and the tangible three-dimensional world, you know, coupled with an image on a screen. And that's enough to put people into a hypnotic trance of disbelief and confusion, where they just believe all this gobbledygook because the religious symbols constantly reaffirmed on a screen. Over and over and over again, so people start to, you know, it's like that whole saying: keep the lie big, repeat it over and over again, and eventually people will believe it. So you've got real people that think bodies of water are bending, and there's people all relative to them stuck upside down on a boat. It's crazy.
Well, I never stopped to think about it. It never even entered my head.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, until I got into this, and you think, well, hang on a minute, how does that happen? And then of course you've got what seems to be the default explanations for anything that is unexplainable, and that's gravity.
Right.
So this is the one. This is the thing that's always thrown at you.
Yeah.
And of course that's very difficult to argue against, because you know, how do you? Because once you start arguing against that, you're arguing with Einstein and himself and Newton, and then you get into this whole dilemma: what is gravity? You know, you know, is it a force? Well, yes, it's not a force. But it is a force.
Yeah.
But they don't. You only have to go on Google, search gravity, and you'll find they don't freaking well know. No one really knows how to describe gravity.
Yeah.
But this is what's thrown. This is what's thrown at us every single time. Something that they can't even understand.
Exactly. It's like a God of the gaps type thing. As soon as I've got a problem or something they can't demonstrate, they just throw the buzzword. Gravity. It can do all sorts of fantastical things. Don't know what it is, don't know its function, but we can observe things that prove it. I mean, you know, watching how an object falls doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah, I know. It's a continual process, as I said, of beating down, and then of course, if you dare to ask questions, then you're going. Then you get this. Well, have you written a paper, peer review? You know, well, no. But look, I'm not a musician either.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I can't have an opinion on the music I'm listening to without having a knowledge of advanced harmony and musical notation.
But the difference,
you know,
the difference with what you've just said there is that's something practical that you can actually understand and get involved in. It's a tangible thing in 3 dimensions that you can understand. What they're talking about is it's an abstract, theoretical fantasy world, you know?
Well, yeah, I did hear one factor. Actually, no, it was you. You said this. Yes, I remember now. It said what they're doing is they're looking up at the sky and making up stories.
Yeah.
And that really, really rang a bell with me, because even before I got into this, I was watching a program on TV once about the universe, and I was thinking, do you know what? These guys don't really know any more than we do. Yeah. They're sitting here trying to figure it out. And this is where the arrogance comes into it. And I appreciate the fact that you're not like this at all. You're an ordinary guy like me. You know, I don't know what your background is. I had a very average education. I didn't get many qualifications. I was in the services. You know, I mean, I don't.
None of that means anything, mate. None of that. You know, our background, our education. It's about your ability to discern and articulate and question properly. That's all that matters. You can come from any background. As long as you've got the ability to discern and question things properly, you'll come to an understanding, you know. And again,
I think,
sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Dale. I think for me personally, it's got to be about observations, what we can see with our own eyes.
Well,
all these numbers that we get thrown about, all these equations, absolutely meaningless. And I'm convinced.
Sorry, just to butt in, you know, what you're saying about what we have to see with our eyes alone are not enough. You know, your eyes can be deceived, which is why, again, they've done a switcheroo with the geometries, because vision is a different geometry from 3-dimensional tangible, the space that you move around in. You know, you can observe this. If you go into the street and you look along the street, you see the street, you know, rise up, the floor rises up, the walls narrow in, and the sky comes down. In physicality, that's not really happening. So,
Yeah.
you know, so you have to understand that, you know, just saying I see something is never enough, which is what they're doing there. They're seeing in 2 dimensions, you know, optical phenomena in the sky, and they're just making interpretations and storylines up about what it is they think they're seeing, you know?
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, we come back to the old ships disappearing over the horizon, don't we?
Yeah.
This is something that is a visual proof of curvature
You
of
asked
the
them,
seawater.
you asked them when they invoke that as a proof, you asked them how they accounted for the eye and how we actually view and how they've you know, accounted for every aspect of that, and they've no. They just ignore it and just assert that it's the Earth curve.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
well, I've seen quite a lot of. I'm sure you have as well. Quite a lot of observations performed where people are using high-powered magnification devices and actually reeling objects back in that should have disappeared around the curvature. This is another point of interest for me. So much so that I'm currently trying to persuade my missus to let me have a P1000 Nikon camera, because I want to start going out and doing. I'm that keen. I want to actually spend the money and start going out and doing this stuff for myself. And I've only been into this for about 6 months. Started off just laughing it off, and gradually now it's become like the first thing I think about when I wake up, the last thing I think about before I go to bed. I've become that much of an obsession. But listen, Del, I've taken up enough of your time. I really appreciate the chance of having a chat with a sort of like-minded soul. And all the best to you. And I shall carry on watching your stuff with great interest.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure, bud. Thanks for coming on. Breath of fresh air.
All right, mate. See you soon.
Keep in touch. You'll hopefully see you back again. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, that's when I've done some of my observations.
Well, remember, observations are just optical phenomena, and they're inconsistent and they're contradictory from one day to the next. And there's so many variations of people seeing this and seeing that, but it's not something quantifiable. It's not enough to go on. First and foremost, you know how the water behaves before you start your visual observation. So
yeah, okay.
Cheers, my man.
Best of luck. Cheers then.
Take it easy, buddy. Being on that little potato rock, there's no way off. Right there and then, it's confusing. You're cut off. Your natural constitution that wants to explore, that wants to keep finding out more, the inquisitive nature that is within you is now stunted. Because what's being presented to you is that men before have discovered everything, including the workings of the universe. Seen and unseen. And then they promote priestly figures of mathematics, which is just a language, which is why it's classed as a formal science. It's not arithmetic. It's a manipulator's tool. They promoted and prompted these people to be idols that bamboozle you with language, symbols, gobbledygook, and insist to you that they've got a fix on it. They understand what's going on. You don't need to worry. Just you accept your slavery. Just you accept this nonsense fucking idiotic system that you're within. Grab a concept and an idea, a self-identity. Invest your emotions on it wholeheartedly and call it a life. You do not know where you are. You do not know why you are here, all the reasons for your being here. Without the answers to those points, anything that you're partaking in and calling a life is purely mental illness, serious, dysfunctional delusion, lunatics, fantasists. Do not let your children anywhere near these creepy weirdos, because they're warping their perceptions. And it's to the child's detriment, stunting them, retarding them. That's what this heliocentric globe nonsense does, retards you. Makes you ignorant, passive, confused, happy to be in bewilderment, clutching at straws, grabbing at certainty that's no there. And you accept your enslavement into an idiotic idea that you call civilization. It's a fucking disaster. When they say you descended from monkeys, they're no fucking kidding. Because if you buy any of these people's bullshit and all this crap that they're offering you, then you have descended from the monkey because the monkey's smarter than you. Stop being lazy. Stop listening to conspiracy cats and all these morons. They're keeping you stupid. I'm not even going to respond to you anymore.